Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to I Know That Nerd. And joining with me today is the incomparable Joe Magician. When I started this channel, there was a short list of dream guests, and he was my first dream guest. And I don't know why my phone didn't mute, but it's going to be muted now. So, Joe, thank you so much for agreeing to come on. I Know That Nerd. We're gonna have a couple-hour conversation, but why don't you tell everybody who you are, a little bit more about yourself than I just did?
Sure. Also, glad to be here. I'm sorry I didn't bring my flower crown. I left it in the shop. It's getting repaired. Oh, hey, Bridge 4 is here. That's cool. Yeah, I'm Matt, also known as Joe Magician. I have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/Joe Magician, where I make Game of Thrones and Song of Ice and Fire theories, eventually going into different things, sort of playing that out now. I'm also a moderator for the Song of Ice and Fire board on Reddit, and we do the Maester Monthly podcast, where semi-monthly we grab our favorite posts from the last month and talk about them, highlight them, usually posts that weren't as popular so people get recognition. And actually, hang on. And Watchers on the Wall, I'm a feature writer for them, kind of infrequently, but I also appear on the Night's Cast with them as well. At Con of Thrones, I'll be on Night's Cast Live. Whew, I did it all.
Right, that's quite a list of titles you got there. You got some Daenerys action going on.
Yeah, I need my own Missandei. Someone will just say them for me. I'll get Mallory to do that at Con of Thrones. Wherever I go, she'll just announce me.
There are worse plans to be had. So throughout this conversation, there are many names you could be called. Do you prefer Matt or Joe, or?
You can call me Matt. That's fine.
I can call you Matt.
Yeah, Joe's a long, weird story, so Matt's just fine.
I actually heard that story, I don't know, the last time you told it maybe a couple of months ago somewhere.
On my Q&A thing.
Yeah, where you were talking about that, what is it, fantasy football game?
Mutant League Football.
Mutant League Football.
Sci-fi fantasy football.
Way back in the day. I remember it was the first football game I ever played where people would die on the field, and it was great fun.
Only if you turned up the brutality index.
Right.
It's always a good game where it allows you to decide how much people are going to explode.
And explode they did.
Yeah, that's true.
So I guess we'll just start with where you started. And that is going to take me back, way, way back to when you were born.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So you're an East Coaster, although you don't have a really thick accent, but you're from the East Coast. Is that right?
Yeah. Me and my family, we're from Massachusetts. I was born in one of those large, famous hospitals in Boston. Lived there until about first grade when I moved out to the West Coast. But up till then, I actually did have an accent. I was dropping my R's and I had colloquialisms and stuff like that. I moved out to California and the kids made fun of me for it. So I actually lost my accent. So you can't really tell from where I talk where I'm from, except basically not the South or the Midwest.
Right. You have a pretty standard American accent at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was an interesting transition going from ice and snow to California.
What part of California did you live in?
We lived in and around the San Francisco area. One of those many towns that popped up out of nowhere in the hills after the tech boom.
Right. Well, that's cool.
Yeah. Used to be a lot of fields and cows, and all of a sudden it became a bunch of very overpriced houses with white people from the East Coast living in them.
I've lived in a neighborhood or two that's like that.
Mm-hmm.
I lived a couple years in California as well, not San Francisco area. I've been there, though, and it's really nice. At least it was in the summer when I went through.
Oh, no, those summers give me nightmares. It would be so hot that your sandals would melt on the blacktop if you stayed too long.
Well, I'm a native Texan, so hot to you is not hot to me. But like when it's snowing, that's the sign of the apocalypse for me.
I'm more comfortable in like winter and fall than I am in summer. Like now is like my least favorite time of the year. You can probably actually hear it. I've got a window AC unit just going full blast all time.
Well, real talk, I got AC too, but like it's got to be 100 degrees before I'm like, okay, now this is hot.
I have a low tolerance for hot.
I have a low tolerance for cold.
Yeah,
So,
there you go.
so early life in Boston, and then you moved to the San Francisco area. And how long were you there?
5 years through elementary school, and then as soon as I was done with elementary school, moved right on back to the East Coast. My dad was a an executive at a large company, so his star was rising. So they kept moving us all around the country to as he got promotions. It was one of those places where you don't get promoted within your own organization. It was not multinational, but it was a nationwide company. So the only way to go up was to go somewhere else. One of those
Okay.
military things.
Had to move sideways also.
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
you.
Moved right back to Massachusetts. And I've stayed there basically ever since. So 6th grade till now, when I'm 32. Yeah, I'm 32.
Okay. Can see you doing the math there.
Yeah, I don't often remember my age anymore. It's just one of those things where it's like, I think I'm in the 30s.
Yeah,
It
once
doesn't.
you get past your 20s, it becomes much less important.
Yeah, after you get past the point where you can sign for a loan and a car rental and get liquor, it's like, it doesn't really matter
Yeah.
anymore.
Although I'm starting to stare 50 in the face before too many more years. So that one needs to be a big party, I think.
Oh yeah, hopefully I'll be at a convention or something.
Well, I doubt it. My birthday's in December, so
You could
I
find
doubt
me.
it. So that's cool. And I know that I knew you first as I saw you guest somewhere. I couldn't tell you where exactly. That led me to your channel.
Hmm.
Then I started seeing you pop up on like say Maester Monthly and things like
Yep.
that. So I'm like, oh, you're really in it. And I've read some of the stuff you've written for Watchers on the Wall, but I really didn't become aware of you until Con of Thrones last year.
That happened to a lot of people apparently. The analytics on my YouTube channel during Con of Thrones and afterwards, it just kind of goes like that.
Right?
A lot of people were just like, oh, that's who this person is. That kind of happened a lot. Like I was well known within like the small Reddit community, being a moderator for them, and I wrote some fairly popular posts that every once in a while I log onto Reddit and I realize I've gotten tagged again where someone like, dude, you have to read this one. I'm like, all right, cool. Thanks for tagging me in that. But outside of that, it took me a while, mostly because being a Reddit mod actually takes quite a lot of your time.
That's what I hear. That's what Amanda was saying when I had her on.
Yeah, especially during the season, but even during the off season, just like it's very hard for all of us. And actually, I think it's really incredible that Eliana and Jeff have like done their weekly podcast on top of everything else they do, because it's almost like another job on top of another job.
But clearly you're passionate about it or you wouldn't do it,
Yeah, that's true.
especially as long as you've been doing it.
True. It's been 4 or 5 years now, but I only started doing like podcasts and YouTube in the last year or two. And it was just one of those things where I just started popping up. I don't know. I just say yes to a lot of things. When people ask me, I tend to do it. So they apparently want me on.
I have that problem occasionally too, where I bite off more than I could chew.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what was your journey like into the A Song of Ice and Fire fandom? Because you're so deeply involved in it, and clearly it's one of your biggest passions. And we'll get to some of the other stuff you're passionate about outside of that fandom. But I'm curious to hear your story about coming to this specific fandom, and which is going to lead us to how did you become a moderator on Reddit and all of that. So
yeah. So the way I found my way into the Song of Ice and Fire fandom, this is gonna nobody hate me. Okay, nobody hate me for this. I was a show watcher first. I didn't know there were books for quite a long
hold on,
time.
interview over.
Yeah, I'm out.
You're out.
I actually I didn't finish reading the books until after I got modded, I think, or very close to or around it. It took me a while. How I got into it was that I had a very, 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 very boring, monotonous job. where I didn't have a lot to do all day except for like repetitive stuff. And my mind is one that needs a lot of distractions. So I would constantly search for them. Oh, God, Bernie, how dare you? How dare you, Bernie? I see you. Um,
Bernie doing Bernie things.
yeah, so I would pick up a show, I would pick up a game, I would pick up a book series, and I would just kind of try it out, wouldn't fit, and just kind of move on to the next one. But the thing that actually, this is going to sound funny, the thing that got me into sort of the theory crafting, sort of getting involved in a fandom, writing things, was actually World of Warcraft, which makes a lot of sense because the lore in that series, that game series, is pretty much taken whole cloth from other books and like other TV shows and stuff like that. Like there's an entire expansion that's basically just Norse mythology. There's a lot of Lovecraft stuff. There's actually a lot of A Song of Ice and Fire stuff in there, but I didn't know that going in. I was like, oh, this stuff all sounds good. So I wrote a few things about that got a little bit of attention on Reddit. I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. And then one day my sort of boss, she came into my office and told me that I have to watch this new show on HBO. And our relationship was basically we would watch the same thing, and I would come in on Mondays, and then she would say, explain what just happened. Like the thing with Game of Thrones that I do goes back quite a ways. Right. I do the same thing to everything I watch, except most of them I get bored of. And she was like, oh, she said I should watch that. I tried out a few episodes, and I was like, oh, I keep being surprised. I'm not usually surprised by TV shows and like movies and books and stuff like that. I can usually predict them at a pretty good clip. That's actually something that George R. R. Martin said, that's one of the reasons he learned to be such a good writer, is because his mom was like that. They would be watching TV and she would call out something and it would always happen. So Martin essentially learned to tell stories that tricked her.
Right.
And anyway, so I started watching Game of Thrones and I liked it. And then I realized there were books. Not only there were books, there was so much more that I could learn, because I just love learning things. Like my favorite things to watch on YouTube are basically just educational videos. I just watch them almost nonstop.
If I was going to bet, I would bet we are subscribed to a lot of the same channels.
Yeah, like Tom Scott, Numberphile, Periodic Videos, Smarter Every Day, all those guys. I love all those guys. And so I found my way to. It actually took a long time for me to get to Reddit, and the first thing I went to that's going to be bad is, well, I don't know if it's bad, but I found the YouTubers that explained the show and the books and kind of like the differences between them. And actually one of them was, don't tell anybody. I know we're streaming, but don't tell anybody, Steven. One of the first YouTubers I watched was Emergency Awesome and Preston Jacobs, because they were easy to find and they had a lot of information. So I watched a ton of them and I was like, wow, I didn't know any of this stuff was here. And it was like my first experience with like actual fan theories where somebody's trying to predict something that it's not just people talking. It was like really thought out.
Right. Cool. I mean, my story of coming to the YouTube side of the fandom doesn't have a pretty start either. You know, so I think of some of the people I used to watch and I want to roll my eyes at myself. But, we all start somewhere and eventually we start to sniff out what's good theory, what's bad theory. Mm-hmm. And I, for one, love your theories, even the crazy stuff like what mountain is it? That's a spaceship, the one in the Vale.
Oh, that one's a joke. That's a joke.
Yeah, but come on, man. It's so good.
The Vale spaceship, yeah.
Yeah.
I do that one to make fun of. That's actually a joke about actually Preston, where he tends to think that there's a lot of spaceships that are hidden as castles, especially like Storm's End and stuff like that, because one of Martin's other stories.
I'm familiar enough with his work.
Yeah.
I don't have anything against him personally, but I think he's a little bit out there for my taste.
Well, yeah. Anyway, so I watched a lot of videos, and I found my way to the Song of Ice and Fire board on Reddit, and I found that, people were doing this all the time. I don't need to watch videos for this. I don't have to wait for any of these people I subscribe to upload. I can just read. Whoa. You froze. Sorry.
I don't have always the best connection.
Okay. So I was like, oh, I can just read this stuff all the time and like think about it and contribute. I don't have to be talked to. I can join the conversation.
Right.
And so that's what I started doing. I started reading a lot of theories on that board and analyses and just sort of slowly like dipping my toe in.
Right. Well, I mean, it's an interesting journey to get to because like I'm a book fan before a show fan. I did read the books first, although the first season of the show was out when I read the books.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went and watched the first season and loved it. But like, it took me a while to get into the deep stuff too. Season 3 was out before I even knew what an R plus L equals J was.
I didn't even know it was a mystery.
Yeah, I didn't either. It didn't occur to me,
I didn't know why people, and then I started people referencing it all the time. I'm like, well, why does it matter? Who cares if Ned's lying? Like, it's like, oh, it's not that he's lying. It's about what the lie is. I'm like,
right.
Oh, that kind of stuff. I didn't pick up on it at all.
But I'm sorry, lost my train of thought for a second. Well, I'm digging for my questions for you.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So we're gonna kick it off. One of the questions, I put this out on Twitter. For those of you that don't know, I always advertise these on Twitter, and it's a great place to leave your questions for my guests. And some people left some really great questions for you. And I'm going to start with one from the first ever guest I had on I Know That Nerd, San Rixian. She had a great question.
Okay.
Which was, what is your 5th favorite character in A Song of Ice and Fire? I don't care what 1 through 4 are. You clearly know exactly what your 1 through 5 is, and I want to know who's in that number 5 spot.
Okay. That's a tough one. Number 5.
You don't blame me, blame Mallory.
I always blame Mallory. Damn you, San Rixian. It's a good question. So 1 through 4 are probably Dunk, Eamon, Brienne, and then 1 through 3, and then 4 is
Dunk is your number 1?
Yeah, I love Dunk. Dunk
is my number 1.
He's the best.
Although if you want to get technical, Dunk is not in A Song of Ice and Fire character. Okay, I'll allow it.
I would say probably number 5 is actually, I think, John, where
really?
he's a little ways down for me, where it's largely because so those first 3 are characters I honestly enjoy reading about, and when they're on the screen, or on the page, I like light up and I'm excited to hear from them and their perspective and what they're going through. John's a little bit further down because he's a whiny teenage emo kid for quite a while. Yeah. And it's like, it reminds me of, number 4 is Samuel Tarley, sorry. And it reminds me of like a very not fun part of my life where I was like that. And it's hard to read it for that way. And he's like really annoying. And you can see how he's annoying everyone around him. Eventually he grows up and he gets some introspection and he has some really cool journeys, but the start of John for me is a hard one.
So you were an annoying emo teen at one point?
Yeah, from all that moving around and stuff.
Right. Well, I gotta say, I was also an annoying emo teen, but I was 25 when I did it.
There you go. Well, I got to it early, I guess. Yeah, it's the same. Actually, it's the same feeling I get reading John early in the books that I get reading the 6th Harry Potter book, where he gets really angsty and mad at everybody all the time. I'm like, stop being such a drama queen, Harry. I say that to John all the time when I read them.
Right.
Like one of my favorite chapters is the one I did with Girls Gone Canon. I think it was John 8 or 9. I think it was 9. The one where he talks to Eamon and you get the love is a death of duty speech, and he talks to Jeor. And John's actually like my least favorite part of that chapter, just because like everybody's giving him good advice and talking to him and trying to get him to see like, hey, there's another way to go forward. You don't have to go die with Rob. And in his head, he's like, everything sucks. Ned's the worst. I hate everything. I'm like, John, get over yourself.
Yeah, but I mean, I would argue that that's actually convincing writing,
Oh, it's very convincing. It's great writing.
but
Like from an enjoyment standpoint, it like
I get that too though. Like I love Sansa, but early Sansa chapters, you're like, your mama needed to slap you, girl.
a lot of them are like that. George started them off fairly. Well, they're young kids. They're much younger than they are in the show, so they end up with some crappy behavior that everyone grows out of eventually. But we end up reading it,
right?
Especially inside their heads.
So, there was a question asked on Twitter, and it's gonna lead into the next topic I want to talk about anyway. But you just recently finished your university work, like
Oh yeah, my college. Yep.
like within the last couple of weeks.
Yep.
So, what were you studying? What degree did you get?
Well, let me turn this back on you. What do you think it's in?
Okay,
What do you think Joe Magician got a college degree in?
I don't know. I would guess it's something techie.
Hmm.
That would just be my guess, but like I really don't have a clue.
That's pretty common. It's actually I got my degree in well, I haven't technically got it yet. Grades haven't closed yet, and I'm waiting to hear back from the registrar that yes, absolutely, you are going to graduate. As far as I know, I'm going to, but it's in business management with a concentration in finance because oh hey, it's Sam Rixian's here.
Yeah, I just saw
Um,
that myself.
um, because I think this is actually one of the strengths from like my theory writings and my analyses is that I tend to see things in terms of like patterns a lot and um, large trends and recognizing opportunities and things like that. And I have a really strong memory, so that works really well for business and like finance and figuring out what's the best way to do something and how to organize it and think it through. And that translates well to theory writing somehow. It's probably why my theories are usually different than everybody else's. I approach things in a very different way.
Well, that's that's a huge part of what makes this fandom great, though, is that there's lots of really smart people here, but like no two of us are the same. The things you're good at are not the things I'm good at. I'm sure there's some overlap, but you find the thing you do, you just do it the best you can, and if that's leads to you being the caliber of theory writer that you are, well, then so be it. That's great, and you've clearly had a good deal of success with it.
Yeah, a fair amount. It's yeah, I don't think anybody would have predicted that's a way to use a business degree and a finance concentration to analyze a bunch of books. But it's just how my mind works. It's actually my cousin. People may have seen him pop up every once in a while in like the credits, or he was actually the voice on my Waymar Royce video, Mr. Woodhouse, where we have very similar ways of thinking, but his memory's out of control, where it's almost near what is it, endemic, right?
I decked it.
Yeah, where he can recall almost anything he's ever been told. So when I was getting started, a lot of my theory writing was because I didn't know anybody to bounce off for fact checking. Was I would just we would just sit down on his deck up in Maine, drinking beers, and I would throw random ideas off of him, like I don't know, does that make sense? And he would tell me yes or no. And the Waymar one was the one that
Yeah, that's
where he turned his head and went like, "You might be onto something there."
yeah, that's actually a really good theory. That's one of my favorites that you've done. And because you came in right after we talked about it, Sanri, I did ask Matt about his fifth favorite character in A Song of Ice and Fire, and his boring answer is Jon Snow. Just so you know.
Yeah, pretty boring.
You can go back and watch the rest for his 1 through 4, but his very boring answer was Jon Snow.
It's true. Very, very boring.
So 32, it's a little bit late in life to be finishing your college degree, but I'm 44 and I still haven't finished mine, so you got me beat, man. Got me beat.
That's what I said when I was counting up the years. I'm like, oh, 14 years to finish a degree. Yeah, that's a little bit higher than usual, I would say.
Yeah. And I do want to give a shout out to Stacy_27, who asked that question about what you were studying in college.
Oh yeah.
And she has another question for you, which is fantastic. Why are your eyes so piercingly blue?
My eyes that hang on.
Yeah, let's get a good look at them.
Let me show them off for a little bit. There we go. I'm sure
Beautiful.
that was nice and good. One thing I like about these glasses, actually, I just got them the other day, is that you can see my eyes better. The other ones had a much darker frame like yours do.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I like my glasses. They advertise the fact that I'm a nerd. I don't have to
There
tell
you
anybody. You can just look and tell.
Mine advertise that I have eyes.
Right.
Why are my eyes so blue? They're my dad's eyes. He has the same exact shade of blue eyes. It's my family is from Ireland and England mostly, mostly Ireland, but my dad's side of the family comes from England. And for some reason, they came over and they had these like sapphire blue eyes. And
Very Nordic.
the what?
It's very Nordic.
Which is surprising because we don't actually have any Nordic ancestry that I know of.
Through
We've done
English, you absolutely do.
well from the Viking invasions, yeah, and also from where my family lived in Ireland. They got overthrown by the Vikings a few times too, so that's probably where.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're my dad's eyes. He gets the same comments his whole life that I've gotten, where people will stop him and say, "This is." I'm not joking around. I've actually been stopped by strangers who have turned to me and said, "You have the most beautiful blue eyes." I'm like, "Thanks, cool."
Yep. I mean, I wouldn't know what that. I mean, I'm got brown eyes, but yes, you do have pretty strikingly blue eyes, and hey, work what you got, my man. Work what you got.
Well, yeah, I'm not exactly. Well, I'm not hiding them or anything. It's just I don't know. Uh, it's one of those strange things, especially because the thing about having, I guess, what people consider beautiful eyes is I never notice because
Right.
how often am I looking at myself? So
When you're shaving, maybe.
yeah, when you look in a mirror every once in a while, or when you're taking a selfie or something like that, but most of the time it has no impact on my life. Where like if you had different aspects that were particularly attractive, like if you were like very muscular or you're particularly tall or all these other things, like those impact your life in some other way. Or like even like people compliment my hair sometimes, like I know I can feel my hair doing things,
There's
but
a
like
question about your hair later.
yeah, I'm sure there is, but like having blue eyes has no impact on my life other than catching people looking at them.
Yeah. Sam Rixian says, Matt, you are super tall. You are what, about 6'4"?
I'm 6'1", but Mallory's like 4'5", so
Yeah.
her perception's a little bit off.
Well, I'm 6 feet, and I guess your red is taller than that to me, but it's been a year too.
Yeah.
It's been a year since I met you, and when I met you, I really didn't. I knew who you were, but I didn't really know who you were then.
That happened a lot. That's why I wore that Hawaiian shirt. Actually,
There's literally a question
yeah,
from Nessie
okay.
about
I'll
your
wait till I get
Hawaiian
to that.
shirts, but like, why are Hawaiian shirts your signature look? Nessie wants to know.
Not my signature look. I actually don't wear them most of the time. I usually wear just like t-shirts or collared shirts or something like that. I wore them at Con of Thrones for that exact reason, where I hadn't actually appeared in any way like showing off my face much before I went to Con of Thrones. It was going to be like the first time a lot of people were going to see me or meet me. And nerds generally have a typical way of dressing where everyone tries to blend in.
Right.
Well, at Con of Thrones, there was a lot of cosplayers, but people just walking around is sort of, we're all wearing like graphic tees and shorts or jeans. I was like, okay, so I'm going to this thing. I'm going to be on stage a lot. I'm going to be meeting a lot of people. How do I make myself memorable in like some kind of way? I was like, well, I have this crazy Hawaiian shirt that from Tom Selleck from what is it, Hawaii 5-0 or something?
Right.
And I was like, I'll just wear that on the first day, and if it goes well, people will recognize the crazy red Hawaiian shirt. And it turns out they did.
It's kind of your brand now almost. And I tell you what else would work for you. Blue flower crown. Works like a charm.
Everybody sees that. It's like, oh, that must be Steven, of course.
Yeah, it must be. Yeah, I think I've heard you say that before about Hawaiian shirts. You just wore them to the con just so you would be recognizable.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. You know, I actually did not wear the flower crown to be recognizable
See,
because I love Rihanna. You know,
yeah.
but it's my brand now. And just as Hawaiian shirts are your brand,
Yeah, I guess so. I was thinking about buying new ones for it, but I think I'll just run back the same one for
I
the
was going to
first
say,
day.
do you plan on wearing Hawaiian again this year?
Just one day. It's like we're there for 3 days. I don't really have the ability to wash anything, so probably one, and then let's go back to what I normally dress like. Make a good impression. Oh, it's the Hawaiian shirt guy again. Actually, that's where it came from. My cousin, Mr. Woodhouse, again. He's involved in a different fandom, but pretty heavily in the same way. And he went to a convention, and one of his friends did the same thing. Where every time that friend goes to a convention, he wears some kind of ridiculous shirt, so that when people see him in the crowd or they see him going up on stage, it's always, oh, it's that guy. Something
Right.
something to make him stand out, because like in our fandom, beyond just dressing similar, a lot of us look pretty similar too. It's like there's nothing about me other than my eyes that really stand out, other than my tallness, according to Mallory.
Just out of curiosity, what fandom is he involved in?
He's very, very deep in the Destiny. The
Okay. I got a very good friend that plays a lot of Destiny.
So does Mr. Woodhouse. He was the mod for Destiny the game, the big subreddit over there. He's actually what I call power mod these days, and actually ended up getting a job doing that. But he loves a lot of different fandoms, but Destiny was the big one for him.
Right on. Speaking of loving other fandoms, what other fandoms do you love? If there wasn't a Song of Ice and Fire, what's the thing that you're obsessing about, or multiple things?
Huh. That's kind of tough because I tend to pick up a lot of fandoms and hobbies and drop them pretty quickly,
Mm-hmm.
just because I run through them or I find there's not that much interesting in them.
I've had that problem, you know.
I had that problem with Lord of the Rings, where I tried it in middle school and thought it was so damn boring I couldn't finish it. I couldn't get through the first book. It took me until the last couple years that I actually went through and read them, which was interesting. But I would say the fandoms I've been most involved in, but nowhere near to like what I do with the Song of Ice and Fire. This one has held my interest much more than other ones. Would probably be I'm a really big fan of Doctor Who. I love Doctor Who. Actually, hang on, right here. That's actually a painting of Amy Pond from the Sunflower episode.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, Firefly, the TV show, and Harry Potter when I was younger. My first nerd arguments was with my good friend Mike, and it was
Okay.
after the sixth book, arguing about why did Snape kill Dumbledore.
Were you correct? Were you right that Snape was a good guy?
No, I was wrong. Mike was
Okay.
right.
So I've never read the books, but I have seen all the Harry Potter movies, and I find them to be very good. Your other fandoms. I'm a brown coat for life.
There you go.
Jane hat. I have a Jane hat in my bedroom. You know, yes, I love me some Firefly. But like, you're about to take my nerd card from me. Are you ready?
Oh, okay.
I've never seen a single episode of Doctor Who in my life.
You know, that actually happens more than you think, because it's such an intimidating show.
It is like I don't know where to
25
start.
seasons. Yeah. You basically have to just choose a decade and just start from there, because the old ones, they've essentially retconned everything, or not retcon, but like they bring it back as like fan things, like, oh, here's a reference to this thing, but they've changed the actors and the story and everything so much that there's almost no point in watching the old ones unless you're a super fan. So you can probably just start with the ones in the 2000s and move forward and be.
And I might do something like that. I mean, I know Maisie Williams is on there, and I think she's an incredible actress. I know David Tennant is a doctor. I've seen him in other things, and he's so good. So it's one of those, like, it's on the list, but gosh, it's so intimidating. And part of me is I've never watched an episode, which is not to say I haven't seen clips. And I flash back to when I was a younger person in the 80s when I first became aware of Doctor Who, and it was the Daleks that have a plunger on the front of them, and like eradicate all humans. And I'm just like, I wasn't buying it then, you know.
They looked really bad. They still look bad.
But production quality is not the end all be all of a good show these days.
No, that's true. And I would say if you're going to start with an episode, if you actually want to, the one that everyone recommends is this one called Blink.
Okay.
And it has David Tennant as the Doctor in it, although he's not really the main part. It's more written almost as a like a like a thriller horror thing, but it's a really good introduction and introduces a lot of the ideas in a simple way. It's a good
Right.
one.
Well, I've been nerd adjacent for long enough, or like adjacent to it for long enough. Like I know he's called a Gallifreyan, which is also a Time Lord, and they have two hearts, and
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of quasi immoral, but not really. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's something I should try. Melina Ojtanik, who's been on my channel a couple of times as a guest,
Hmm.
who is a lovely human being, wants to know who is your favorite Doctor.
Ooh, my favorite Doctor is, I think it's Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor, with David Tennant, the 10th Doctor, right behind it. Um, I think Tennant played a very different way of being the Doctor than Matt Smith, because in between the two of them, the showrunners changed,
Right.
with a series that long that happened. So the tone and the way they were telling their stories completely shifted from one to another. So it's almost like two different shows. But I would say Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor, was probably my favorite.
Right on. What makes him your favorite? What is it about him?
Um, hmm. With David Tennant's Doctor, he played him. Um, what's the right way to say this? Much more on the surface, where he was much more a emotional kind of person. He was much more like, well, he always travels with humans, right?
Right.
And David Tennant played the Doctor like just a human who would basically become an immortal, sort of. Like he had secrets and he had his dark side and stuff like that, but his day to day stuff was he was basically just being a normal person. And the way that Matt Smith played the Doctor was that he was going through a lot of trauma and pain and hit a lot of stuff. And it was kind of, actually, he gave himself this nickname. It was kind of like Space Gandalf, where he played it like in a Starium in a world of humans,
Mm.
which I found more interesting. And also but the stories were very different. You can't separate the Doctors themselves from the stories they were written into.
For
Where
sure.
I liked Stephen Moffat's early Matt Smith stuff probably better than the stories David Tennant gave, and that probably is maybe the deciding factor.
Okay. It's interesting. Uh, again, having never watched it, some of what you're saying is going over my head, but I can definitely understand about the different ways that they're sort of portraying. Because I know it's the same character, but it's really not the same character.
No, in between when he dies and he comes back to life, his DNA changes, so he's a new person, but with the
Right.
same memories. So I think of a Song of Ice and Fire way. Matt Smith sort of played him like a good Euron,
Ooh.
like that kind of person, but like not evil.
Right.
And David Tennant sort of played him. It's hard to put a Song of Ice and Fire person on it, but maybe something closer to um, who's like a mystical character, but he's more human in a Song of Ice and Fire.
Um,
Somebody that walks on the magic side, but isn't like consumed by it.
there aren't too many
Mm,
of those in a Song of Ice and Fire. Magic will pretty much screw you up if you mess with it.
hmm. I don't
Although,
know.
you know,
I'll think about it.
the things you're saying make me feel Maester Aemon maybe a little bit.
Maybe when Maester Aemon was young,
Okay.
when he was still running around with Duck and Egg. Um, yeah, actually, Tennant played him a little bit close to Darren the Drunkard, a little bit, where he was enjoying life in order to run away from the terrible memories and dreams and stuff like that.
Right.
That kind of stuff. The big thing about the Doctor is they're always running away from something, and the season is like, okay, so what's this? What is the thing they're running away from this one?
Right on.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not trying to turn this into Doctor Who 101, but if it's it's clearly a major fandom for you.
Yeah, I haven't watched it in a while though because they switched doctors to Peter Capaldi, and I didn't actually end up liking it too much. It ended up being like you know the show House.
Yes.
It ended up Peter Capaldi looks a lot like House, and he
Yeah.
played the Doctor a lot like Greg House. And I also didn't like the stories that were being told in particular. They got too kind of up their own butts a little bit. So I haven't actually watched it in a while. Although I know they recently cast the first female Doctor and
Yeah.
did it first season.
I
Yeah,
do know that there's a lady doctor now.
yeah,
Which, hey, cool.
yeah.
To rearrange your DNA makes sense for you not to be a man over and over and over and over again.
Well, that's the interesting part is there's some amount of choice in it. So the Time Lords that are born as males or females tend to be males or females throughout their entire lives, but there's always an element of choice. If they want their next generation regeneration to be the opposite gender, they totally can.
Okay.
So he finally decided to be a woman.
I'm okay with gender politics in my storytelling.
Yeah, there you go.
That's fascinating, though. Again, like, I keep bumping up against Doctor Who. My daughter watches it. She's like, "You have to watch it." And, okay, but like, I don't know. I like that sort of edge of realism and dark grittiness to my storytelling. So, which is probably why I fell in with the Song of Ice and Fire so much. But millions of nerds around the world can't all be wrong.
Well, that depends. There's quite a lot of nerds that think very weird things.
Yeah. So, one of the things that I became aware of as I started engaging with you on Twitter more was that you are an old school or a long time Magic the Gathering player.
Oh yeah, actually, where are they?
I'm
gonna go grab some. 1 sec.
Sure. We're gonna go wait for him to grab something real quick. Nessie, how did I like The Expanse? I freaking loved it. I loved that show. It was fantastic.
Sorry. Okay. So yeah, I have a bunch of Magic cards. I've been playing it since I was in middle school.
So let me do the math. 20 years?
Something around that, but a long gap in between.
Okay.
Oh, Magic's so great.
I love this game. I love Magic the Gathering. I played it the year it came out.
Of course. You played Alpha. Oh, you sitting on any dual lands?
No, I played, I want to say Revised.
Okay.
Was when I first got into it, but which was about 6 months after it debuted.
Okay. You sitting on a treasure trove of old cards?
Oh God, no. I have so few. I have a couple of decks that are my decks that I will play with, but I do really, really love the game. So what you went and grabbed cards because you wanted to share something. What do you got?
Oh yeah.
Let me see.
So I've been complaining on Twitter quite a lot about Lovecraft lately. If people have been listening because I'm working my way through his stories, and I've been reading the Dream Quest to Unknown Kadaf. I think that's what it's called, and it's been annoying me because of the way he writes it. But one of my favorite things is that those moon beasts and all those weird outer god things are just in Magic. They call them something different though. They call them Eldrazi.
Eldrazi, yeah.
So I have an Eldrazi deck. So
what format is it for?
Commander.
Okay.
I have
Commander is the best format. For those of you that were speaking Greek or whatever, just know that Commander is the best format for Magic the Gathering.
It's the most fun, I would say. But it depends who you play with, basically.
True.
I have a Teamer Eldrazi deck with Animar, the Soul of Elements.
Yeah, Animar is a fantastic. He makes all of your guys tougher and all of your guys cheaper to cast.
And these things are just so odd. Like, let me see if I can hold this up and actually get it to focus on it. Like, look at that thing. It's straight out of Lovecraft, and they're just in Magic. I think I like his weird creatures better than I like his writing. But
Lovecraft?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I love his stuff, but I'm with you. It might be more that I love the ideas and the themes that he's writing about more than what he's actually writing.
Yeah,
Like,
true.
who needs the word vigintillion in their freaking writing?
I also don't need to know all the different ways a basement smells weird. I'm good. Like once was
Right.
enough, man. But for Magic though, um, I love, especially for Commander, building things. I love building Commander decks. I love building tribals or synergy based decks. And I play. I sometimes stream and I'll play the online client where you can basically only play standard at the moment, which is the latest block of cards, the last
Right.
few of them. And I'll play decks that are designed to be good, just because like sometimes you just want to win and it feels nice. But whenever I can, I try and build these like weird synergy tribal, like I guess you would call them sort of Timmy-ish decks or Johnny decks.
Right.
Um, and those are my favorite things to do. I love designing the weird strategy and then seeing it happen, even if it doesn't happen consistently. Where like winning in Magic is not the reason I play.
I'm completely with you on that. Like, I do love the commander format. I love the way the politics plays, and it lets you build decks that wouldn't work in any other format.
No.
Like, my favorite deck that I have is a Nekusar the Mind Razor.
Oh, you're evil.
Yeah,
You would
I love
you
him
would
because
play that.
yeah, of course I would. And it because it has very few creatures, and the only creatures it does have, it has them because it gives everybody cards, and the whole point of that deck is just to make you choke on your own card draw.
Yeah, it's a very evil way to play. It's a I'm the only one that has fun kind of game.
No, no, not really, because everybody's drawing cards. Mine is actually built very almost like a group hug style deck, where
Where you
my,
slowly
enchant-
win.
my enchantments and artifacts are like everybody draws extra cards on their draw step, and
Oh,
then and then in the late game I just start adding things that make it hurt every time you draw a card. So,
well, you play Nekusar. I like to play decks that feature this baby.
uh, is that doubling season?
It is doubling season. I love doubling season.
Yeah, I had an Atraxa Super Friends deck that had a doubling season and all that stuff in it.
Oh no, that's boring. Playing with
Yeah, I don't.
you
I
just win. No. I,
had
I play doubling season to and then I play mirror gallery to hit somebody with like 15 Kozileks
okay.
to remove the legend rule. That's the kind of stuff I like doing.
That's
I have a lands based deck where it's based around lands coming into play or going into the graveyard, giving me advantages.
is
And
it green black?
it's Jund. It's
Okay.
with Lord Windgrace as the commander.
I
That
don't know him as well. Like I don't know what his text says, but I'm with you. Like if you're doing graveyard shenanigans, you're in green and black for sure.
the main reason I like it, and this probably feeds back into the fandom aspects and the things I like, is because I enjoy things in ways that other people don't, and I like finding things people haven't noticed or attacking things in odd directions. So killing somebody with land drops feels very nice to me.
That's why I love my Nekusar deck because again, like there's no creatures attacking. It's literally just sit back behind my pillow fort and hope nobody attacks me because hey, everybody's getting to draw cards.
Mm. Drawing cards is fun.
It's the three best words in Magic the Gathering: draw a card.
Worth about a mana.
Yeah. Well, it's a card game. Can't play it without cards.
Tell graveyard decks that.
Yeah. They're still got cards though.
In
It's
theory.
not in their hand. Anyway, we're gonna lose people if we spend too much time on Magic
How's
the
it going, chat? You guys enjoying Magic Talk?
Gathering. Some people are saying I don't even know what this is.
It's just a fun card game with it's kind of like World of Warcraft where they take all their storylines and characters from different parts of the nerd community and then adapt them so you'll recognize things as you play. That's one of the fun things for me. It's called being a Vorthos, I think, in the
Yes,
community.
Porthos or yes, like I think that's the word they use.
Yeah, Vorthos. It's where there is a storyline. There's books and comics and all that stuff to enjoy about it, but a lot of it is not original because it's a game. That's not
Right.
the main thing they're doing. So if you enjoy fantasy and sci-fi, you'll find a lot to like in Magic in that way too.
Yeah, I always liked it because, as you say, there's a story element, a lore element that people can latch onto. There is the actual, playing of the game element, which I view it like a large, really complex, like algebra equation when I
Kind
play,
of. Yeah.
which it helped. My ex girlfriend and I used to play Magic together a lot, and she would always say she was terrible at math, but after playing together for a couple of years, like her mental math skills had become pretty sharp because she has to figure out what's the power of these attacking creatures and blah 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 and all this,
You play Red Deck Wins for a while, and you'll understand that stuff
Yeah,
pretty well.
and then but there's also like the artwork, the standard that they've set in the last, I don't know, 10 years. The
Yes,
early artwork is some of it's not great. Let's
it's
be honest.
bad. It's bad.
Some of it's good,
Eh,
but a lot of the early artwork is not great. But the more modern stuff that they use, man, it's so good.
especially what's her name, Magali Villanueva. She is one of the primary artists now for Magic the Gathering, and people may know her from the A Song of Ice and Fire calendars, and also Fire and Blood, I believe, and also the World of Ice and Fire. She's contributed a lot of the artwork that, especially if you watch YouTube videos, a lot of the artwork people use is hers, especially like pictures of the Valyrians and Aegon, and like the famous pictures of Ariane Martell, the one where she's looking sultry with Ares Oakheart over her shoulder. That's all Magali, and she is unbelievable at it.
Hmm. Well, they don't hire low quality artists these days. They just don't.
No.
But they're the most successful trading card game of all time. You wouldn't have your Yu-Gi-Ohs and your Pokemon trading card games without it.
Yeah, Wizards of the Coast made those for a while. They made Pokemon and they made Yu-Gi-Oh.
Did they? I didn't know that.
I think it was on contract, but
Right.
ended up being. I don't think they do anymore. Maybe they do. I think they might make Pokemon, but definitely not Yu-Gi-Oh.
I mean, I've got no hate for anybody who plays those games. I played Pokemon with my kids when they were young. Um, some of them don't play games anymore. My oldest daughter, though, grew into a Magic the Gathering player herself. She loves playing Commander.
They're very different games because there's no counterplay. It's just
Right,
it's your turn as you playing solitaire, and a lot of people eventually graduate to Magic where you can interact
right. Like
as people do stuff.
I said, the three greatest words in Magic the Gathering are draw a card. The two worst words are in response.
Ugh. If you say counter, don't counter things, guys.
Right.
Don't counter things if you like having
No, no, no,
friends.
no, no. I'm sorry, Matt, but I'm a blue-black player at heart, and I'm going to counter and murder and
Ugh.
force you to sacrifice. It's how I play the game.
Anti-fun is what those are.
Yeah, well, I'm having fun.
But yeah, fun's a zero fun game. Is a zero sum game for blue black players.
Yep.
They have all the fun. Nobody else does.
Yeah, the definition of a black player, for those of you out there, when you play black cards, basically, my path to victory is to place my hand over your heart so I don't miss and then stab myself through the hand.
Bernie coming in hot in the chat. What the fuck are they talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, well, we'll go back to some of these questions. Lady Shar wanted to know how much magic you have actually gathered in your life.
Actually, I have a way of saying how much that is.
Oh yeah.
I have a app on my phone that you scan your cards and it tells you how many you have and how much they're worth.
Oh.
So according to this, of the cards I've scanned, I have 2,500 cards. I have 5 commander decks, and they're worth altogether, if I were to sell them for a medium price, somewhere around $2,500.
You're not gonna get. If you went to a card shop and sold them, you'd get half of that. But
That's correct. If I sold them on if I sold them on like TCG Player or something
Right.
like that and put them up as private sales, I could in theory get that much back. They would probably be somewhere around 1,900.
yeah, that's not nothing.
No,
And for those of you that don't realize, one commander deck can be worth that much.
yeah, one card can be worth that much.
Well, the most expensive card ever sold in Magic the Gathering sold for $28,000.
Yep, Black Lotus.
Yep, the one that was opened on somebody's stream.
Yeah, a card that all it does is add mana. That's all it
Oh,
does.
come on.
It just
Black
adds
Lotus
man.
is, I mean, it's super rare is a big part of its price tag, but it's really powerful. Come on. Black
They're
Lotus
talking
is
about the weather in chat. I think we should move off magic.
okay. Good call. We're gonna move on. Okay, now I said we had a question. My my mod, Ridiculous Ed Tollett, aka Sean, he is at that three piece guy on Twitter. They
Mhm.
wanted to know what shampoo and conditioner you use to keep your hair so beautiful.
I don't
Okay,
actually.
question about your hair in here.
Of course. I mean, it wouldn't be a stream asking me questions if my hair didn't come up. I don't actually use conditioner. I'm looking up the name of it. I
You
used
don't
something.
use conditioner?
No, it turns out can people use conditioner because they use shampoos that have sulfates in them, which remove the oil from your hair, and conditioner essentially mimics the oil being put back. So if you buy sulfate-free shampoo, you don't actually need a conditioner. You can just cut that out entirely. But I use something called Challenger Tea Tree Daily Shampoo, which I found on Amazon because it was highly rated and I needed to buy something and I was out of the other stuff. I didn't actually like it sounds like I put a lot of research into this. I didn't.
Right?
I just
You
found
have
this.
naturally fantastic hair.
Yeah, it does. It's for whatever reason my hair likes sticking up on its own. Like if I didn't comb it, it would just look like this all day.
Yeah.
Just like straight up in the air and it will stay like that. I don't know. It's just like my eyes come from my dad, my hair comes from my mom, and she has luscious flowing hair too. That's all I got. It's
Hey man.
that's what I use.
So it doesn't take much. You just are naturally beautiful.
It's true. This is all gifted by the gods.
You hear that, ladies? All natural, 100% genuine.
Yeah, I don't do
And,
much.
and he'll be at Con of Thrones.
I will be. So I might
So
bring a spray bottle. Just be like,
here's your chance. Here's your chance. Also, the risk of getting sprayed is entirely on you. Okay, there was a question that came up, and this one made me laugh just reading it. This is from at dog plus one. Wants to
okay.
know boiled leather or silk small clothes.
Um, for small clothes, so like
That's,
underwear.
I guess so.
People wear leather for underwear. Is that what that question is proposing?
If you're not 100% sure what they're talking about, I will send you some video links later.
Oh boy. I guess just based on I don't understand why you would wear leather as undergarments. I guess I would say the silk. Just because I don't know.
Right? Okay. I mean, that would be my choice as well.
I
I
mean, if
don't
you're
want to
talking
wear
about regular clothes, I have a different answer. But they said undergarments or small
small,
clothes.
but specifically.
Small clothes.
So
Yeah,
there
you
you
have
have.
to be a maniac to wear leather undergarments.
Yep.
Yeah.
I tend to agree, but hey, the people want to know. We give the people what they want. So I'm going to go off the questions for a minute, and I want to steer it back to you. Young life. We
Okay.
uh, we talked about you moved around a little bit, but I didn't. What was your high school experience like? What did you do? What did you do for extracurriculars? Were you a band nerd or?
No, this is going to be another left field things. I always have fun because people can actually predict what my life has been like for the most
Okay,
part.
you were captain of the AV club and glee club and even the chess team.
Swinging and missing all three. I was the I was actually quite athletic in high school.
Okay.
They wanted me to play baseball and football. They wanted me to be quarterback because I have a really good arm, but I didn't want to because I lived far away from my school and I didn't want to go to practice and like plus schoolwork and stuff like that. So I went to an all boys Catholic school, which was interesting, where I had to wear collared shirts and khakis every day. And yeah, they wanted me to do that. I didn't do those things. Instead, I played racquetball, and I was the school champion one year, which was nice. I played that all 4 years. I was a member of the science club, and then that was basically it. I didn't do much for extracurriculars at school. I usually come home and hang out with people or go read something or play a lot of like Blizzard games like StarCraft or Warcraft. Back in the age of dial-up, God help me.
Ooh. Online gaming in the age of dial-up. It was a tough time. It was a tough
somebody
time.
calls and you lose the game. That was not the good times.
Right?
Yeah. We going into high school, I went to a baseball camp for the summer just because I needed something to do. I was like, oh, let's play baseball for the summer. And apparently I was so good, they wanted me to play that. Tried to get me to go to that high school, went to another one. They tried to get me to play there. Didn't happen. Same for football, because in our gym class was actually, instead of just like running or something like that, because it was an all boys school, they had us play football most of the time. And me and my dad would play catch when I was younger for hours and hours. So yeah, I have a pretty decent arm. They tried to get me to go out for freshman football to try and being the quarterback. The kid I would have been going up against ended up going on to be the starting quarterback for Duke. So that would have been fun. But yeah, I didn't want to be about the athletic life.
I mean, I don't blame you. You need to. My father always wanted me to do the things that he wanted me to do, and that did include playing baseball and running track and playing football and stuff. And it didn't do me any favors in the long run. I think it's a really great thing, a really great idea to encourage your children to do the things that they're passionate about. I mean, you're finding success and happiness in your life right now by doing the things you care about. And I'm glad your parents gave you the opportunity to say no to some of those things.
Oh, they didn't want me to say no. They very much wanted me to do those things.
But they didn't force you to, is what I'm saying.
No, they didn't. I basically told them to go pound sand and read books and played on the computer.
See, I did that exact same thing, except, my dad was. We're still repairing our relationship over that one.
Okay.
Anyway, I digress. This is not
understood.
This is not about that. I think I just saw somebody Leathery Wings is in the chat, and I believe Leathery Wings on Twitter is Moonlight Tingle 1.
Really? Oh.
And Moonlight Tingle 1 had a question, and I love the question. If you were a Stark and you were gifted a direwolf, what would you name it?
I can't name it the ones that already exist. No, because those are very specific to them.
Yeah, and you need to be careful because, depending on where you stand on the wolf naming theories, could have a huge impact on your future.
What's the wolf naming theories?
Well, like John dies and his wolf is Ghost, and Rickon's story is a Shaggy Dog story, and his wolf is Shaggy Dog, and
Sansa died. Wait, but Sansa doesn't make sense because Lady dies and she's
no. Lady dies, but Sansa is a lady, becomes a lady.
She absorbs her? Like
No. The name Lady suggests what Sansa will become. The name Ghost suggests what Jon will become.
I don't know about Nymeria. That one doesn't make much sense. Arya's not going to be a conqueror.
But Arya is going to be a great warrior woman.
Yes. True. And she did have a flirtation with Ned Dane, and Nymeria did marry a Dane.
Right.
Interesting.
And then you've got Summer, and Bran is probably going to be the one that defeats the Winter to bring about Summer again. And yeah.
Huh.
But be careful how you name your direwolf.
Well, if it's how... So I get to pick the end of my life story by naming my direwolf.
Right. Or like, it's at least metaphorical or symbolic. Just name it Lottery Winner and,
It's a good question. I'm not quite sure. I'll have to think about that one. I know what I name it. Okay. Name it after, what's her name? After Alyssa Farm in the ship, Sunchaser.
Sunchaser. That's a great name, too.
There we go.
For a direwolf, too.
Yes, it would be. Or like some other celestial object, whatever. Something chaser.
Right on.
Why is there the chat's talking about pegging? What have we started?
I'm doing my best to ignore them. If I had to bet, I would say it's Bernie's fault. But
It is Bernie. What are you doing? Oh, this is because I said Catholic school, and she's showing off how she. Yeah, okay, I got it, Bernie. Everyone understands. We all got it.
yeah, but that's my Bernie. Wouldn't have her any other way.
No, there's no change in her. She
No,
is who she is.
there isn't. We just got to put up with her. Sari had another question for you, and this one was a little bit more legit, I want to say, other than her fifth favorite character one. And that is, what is your favorite dish to make?
My favorite dish to make. Let's see here. I actually I do cook quite a lot. This I don't know if this is gonna come with your questions or not, but I am single, so I had to learn to cook for myself. I also grow like vegetables and stuff like that. So you either learn to cook or you go into the poorhouse buying stuff. So, but actually, my favorite thing to cook is actually not much. It's not very complicated. It's a fairly simple sandwich with ciabatta bread, mozzarella, tomato, arugula, Italian vinaigrette, and chicken.
Hey, man, I need the hell out of that.
It's really good. It's easy to make. I can make it, and it's always good every time. It's got all the right flavors to it. So, I mean, I can do make more complicated things. It's just like that's my favorite.
Right on. Yeah, I learned how to cook too. From I was married, divorced.
Hmm.
So I've had to take care of myself. Although I haven't had to do a lot of that recently since I moved back in with mom. I work. She kind of takes care of the house. She
Hmm.
can't work. She's on disability, but man, she can cook and it's making me fat. And I haven't had to cook in a long time either. But you could cook for me anytime if you're making
Making those sandwiches.
making those sandwiches. Sounds pretty dang good, man.
That happens every time I go by my parents' house. They don't live that far away, so I'll stop by just like say hi or pick something up, and I will have food shoved at me. It's like, oh, we're having dinner. Do you want some? I'm like, wow, this is a giant plate of food. Or on my way out the door, like, oh, we have a leftover pizza, or I make cookies, and it's just like, sure, give them to me. I'll take them.
Right on. I mean, that's the point of moms, though, is to feed you stuff,
I, she does very well at that.
right? So let me ask you this then: we touched a little bit on other fandoms that and of course I'm fishing for nerdy things there, but talking about some of the less nerdy side. Uh, what are some of your? Let's talk about movies. We're going to talk about movies and music
Okay.
because I think you can tell a lot about a person based on what non nerdy movies are they in love with, or So what would you say is your favorite movie, or do you have a favorite movie?
My favorite movie is The Shining.
Ooh, ooh, really good choice.
Right
Although
off the bat, too. I didn't have to think about that one.
no, you didn't. Although I think Kubrick is a genius, but I think he's a sadistic genius.
Yeah, it's not a happy movie. You don't watch it to like. It's not enjoyable, but it's like I don't know. It always
No, that's
gets
not
me.
even what I'm saying. But when you hear what he put,
Oh, we put her through. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but
I'm gonna look this up. It's gonna kill me if I don't remember her name.
Shelley Duvall.
Yeah.
You hear about what he put her through for that movie, and real talk, she gave the performance of her lifetime in that movie. But oof,
It's true.
I think working with Kubrick would be very, very difficult. If I had to, if I got to rewind 25 years and go back through life and do it all over again, I would go to film school.
Oh, okay.
So but Kubrick is I think that's a bridge too far.
It sometimes happens where people who make incredible art are just terrible people.
Yeah,
There's no way around it. Not only, unfortunately, it's not only good people that make good things.
right.
it's a great movie. I watch it every Halloween. Me and Mallory and Bookshelf Stud actually did a live stream on Halloween talking about how essentially how The Shining was embedded into John and the Northern storyline and how it might come true and a win's a winner and a dream of spring because of how good of friends that Stephen King and Martin are. Like he's liberally taken from King and included plot points from him, and that's one of the cool parts about it. But the movie itself is just it's so amazing, and I actually think my favorite character from it is probably the hotel.
Okay.
It feels very alive, and it's reacting to them as even when it's not the ghost speaking, but like especially if you read the original the story The Shining from Stephen King, it actually is that way where the hotel is alive and it's watching them, and it's much more on the nose in the book, but the movie does it in a much more subtle way that I really enjoy.
Right on. I've never read the book. You know, real talk. I don't do a lot of reading. I've said it before on my channel. I'm mildly dyslexic, so sitting down to actually read something that's just a block of text it takes me a while, and sometimes I have to reread it 3 or 4 times, the same paragraph over and over again. Just that guy, but like, and I've heard that the movie is actually quite different from the book. But I
Very
have
different.
to agree, that movie is fantastic. Although I'm curious now to hear what do you feel like elevates it to that top tier for you? What is it about it?
I think it's that. Well, this is a running theme in things I enjoy, where it is consistently surprising, where the from one moment to the next, from one plot point to the next, you sort of can't believe it's going to go that way. Like everyone's seen like horror movies and like slashers and things where people die, and The Shining, you sort of think it's going to be like that. Like one of the major images is the blood coming out of the elevator. It's like, oh, this is going to tell you that everyone's going to die in the end in like a horrible way, and it actually ends up being more psychological than actually like slasher based.
Right.
And there's always new things to pick out. There's actually I watched a documentary on it on Netflix called Room. I forget the name of it, where they essentially like try to break down like fan theories and like symbolism behind The Shining, most of which is probably not true, but it the way that the movie comes out it tickles similar parts for that. I think like A Song of Ice and Fire and Game of
That
Thrones does for people.
unpredictability.
Unpredictability and also depth, where the more you look at something like individual scenes, there's always more to find because it's
I
so
see.
detailed.
I see. Like, I understand how that goes. How a good filmmaker will. The background has 7 layers of different subtextual things going on. I am not familiar enough with The Shining. I've seen it probably 3 or 4 times, and I do find it to be very enjoyable. But I've never been the biggest fan of horror. Although
No, me neither.
if you're gonna do horror, though, The Shining is a hell of a way to go.
I don't like horror at all. I don't like horror movies. I don't like slashers. I like The Shining. I think
I like the right one. I
I,
like the right one.
I also think the best thing about The Shining is throughout it, and even in the well, again, this is going to sound like a Game of Thrones stream, but in the book, it's much more clear that the hotel is haunted and like what's happening, and there's poltergeisty stuff going on. But in the movie, the way Kubrick makes it, you can make an argument in the end that there were no ghosts the
Right.
whole way through.
That
And yeah,
is it
rewatchability
Jack?
like Bridge
Is his
Force.
name is his name Jack in that movie?
Yeah, Jack Torrance.
Right. There's a because my first watch of that movie, I read it as Jack is insane and hallucinating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's you could definitely watch it that way. You could also watch it for pure fantasy and horror and a ghost story. And I don't think there's a wrong. Well, there is objectively a wrong way. It is a haunted hotel. There are ghosts, like that is happening. But I think that's the brilliant part of the movie is it just gives you way more watches out of it than you normally would.
Very cool.
Usually when the secret's revealed, it's over.
Right.
It's not with The Shining.
Right, because there's still a very human drama taking place
Yeah,
with Jack and his family.
exactly.
Cool. Um, I need to say Amanda's name sooner next time. We
Oh,
mentioned that I mentioned her, and like 30 seconds later, she pops up and says hi. So next time, I'm
Amanda.
just going to start off with like Amanda, and then hopefully she just appears immediately.
Like people do to me in streams.
Right? And that's happened so many times. I've seen you too, which is uh, that somebody, and you've said it's because you lurk until you hear your name, but I don't know how true that is. But
It is true. I don't often like. Well, okay. So this is going to be like a very first world YouTuber problem. When I speak up using my name, people recognize me and it changes the conversation. And suddenly it's about people reacting to me being there. And usually when I'm watching a stream, I'm not really trying to do that unless I'm trying to troll, which I do
I see.
sometimes. So a lot of times I like to sit back and just watch. And then when I'm mentioned, and I'm like, oh hey, how's it going? But then I like to go back into the audience because I don't know. It can disrupt things in a way I don't often like, unless I'm trying to mess with the person on camera, which does happen sometimes.
Well, that's a good answer. I mean, I guess that hadn't occurred to me about it would change the nature of the conversation.
Yeah. Sometimes you just want to be a fan. You don't always want to be
Right, right. Well, you're
have a mic.
clearly you're a very well known person in the fandom too, so I can imagine that is a thing that would happen. You know,
Like if
uh,
Alt Shift X showed up in the chat right now, the conversation would be Alt Shift X is here.
yeah, I get that, but that would be what I was talking about even.
Yeah.
That guy is 5 levels above you, much less
Right.
me.
Yeah.
And I do enjoy his content too. He's really good at what he does.
Yes, he is. He's very good at it.
Um, Brain locked up. There was a question that rolled past. Amanda says, "Matt, are you cosplaying?"
No, I'm not cosplaying. Not now. Not in a few days at Con of Thrones.
He is cosplaying as a native Hawaiian.
Well, no, not as a native, as a colonizer. I can be a colonizing Hawaiian.
Well, that would be the truth of it right there, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be it.
Okay.
I don't know. Cosplay is not for me. I never liked Halloween dressing up as a kid.
Oh man.
I don't really feel the need to try and. I don't know. Some people really enjoy looking like the characters they enjoy or pretending to be them for a little bit. It's just not something that appeals to me.
Nessie wants to know if I asked you her question. I did, Nessie. I asked him about the origin of his signature Hawaiian look. You can watch back and get the full story, but the short version of that is he wanted to be recognizable at the con.
Yeah, because people didn't know my face yet. It worked. It's a good strategy.
Yep, I thought it was a prime time good idea.
Always good to have a strategy.
Bernie's calling you out. You're like, I don't like playing dress up. I don't cosplay. And Bernie's like, that's why you own a wizard's hat, Matt.
Yeah, that's why. That's the one thing I own, basically. That's like that. Um, I don't know. That's more of a prop. Like I'm not walking around during the day, plopping on that wizard hat. I'm not going outside gardening wearing it or anything like that. It's just like I don't
That's
know.
not what cosplaying is, though. Cosplaying isn't wearing your costume to garden.
True. I don't know. I mean, I literally bought that for Halloween too. That's what I owned that for. It was a. I was trying to be Gandalf, so that's all I got.
Bernie thinks you use it at night. I don't know what you're using it at night for, but as long as it's between consenting adults, it doesn't matter.
Who knows what Bernie means? Who knows?
I mean, I sure don't, but that's part of why we love her. I want to get onto your music now. So,
Okay.
I have yet to meet a human person that doesn't love music of some kind,
Sure.
doesn't identify with music in some way. So, are you the first person that I'm going to be, and you're going to be like, nah, I don't like music at all. It's not my thing.
No, I listen to music all day at work. I listen to it in the car to and from when I'm not listening to podcasts. Very, very normal part of my life to be listening to quite a lot of music.
So what genres are your go-to, or what bands?
Well, it kind of depends on what time of my life you're talking about.
Oh, sure. Everybody's got a gadget, but like here now today.
Here now today, the stuff I tend to wait. Where's my list of? Oh, Spotify, you're letting me down. So for some reason, all my stuff is missing. Um, the stuff I tend to listen to is more along the lines of probably like blues rock and folky stuff. So like the Black Keys. I've been listening to a lot of Shaky Graves, the Lumineers, sort of bands like that. A lot of guitar and piano action seems to be my jam recently.
Okay.
But as a I also listen to like trashy pop too. Like
There's nothing wrong with that. The right song will still get me too.
it's true. God, what's Spotify? Why won't you work for me? Where's my list of music? There it is. Okay, let me look through this. Yeah, Lumineers, Shaky Graves, Saint Motel, Black Keys, Modest Mouse. Ooh, that's a bad stretch. Tom Waits is very good. I actually like Robert Johnson. I took a history of jazz class in college and got
Okay.
exposed to a lot of, or his history of rock and roll or history of jazz, something like that. I exposed to a lot of that old style blues and blues rock kind of stuff. A lot of what I like these days comes from that.
Right on. Not the genre that I deep dive on, but I tend to love music from all over. Like I've listened to Turkish pop music, and you know
Oof.
uh, Mongolian heavy metal, and just all that kind of stuff. But I was in a blues band, so I do have a great appreciation for playing the blues and singing the blues. I think it's one of my favorite genres as well, because as an artist, it lets you get very creative. And I think blues lends itself to that sort of like seat of your pants, doing it different every time, experimental type of music making, and I love that.
Yeah, that's true. That's a lot of what I like about it, where there's so much room in the genre and that kind of music for really expressing themselves. Whereas like the stuff I listened to in high school is largely the sound is almost always the same. The only thing that changes is really the tempo and the words. And that's not the same for that kind of music. It's always different. You can always find what you're looking for.
Right. Couldn't agree more. So, do you have a favorite song right now?
My favorite song at the moment is it's actually unreleased. Well, it's kind of unreleased. The album isn't out yet. It's from the Lumineers, and they put out 3 songs from their new album. And my favorite one from it is called Donna. With God, what's the other one called? I really like the Lumineers. Gloria is the other good one off that one.
Right on.
I listen to those two quite a bit.
I'm going to write that down and give them a listen after the stream.
They're really good. They started off as a 3-piece band with a guitarist, a cellist, and then sort of a jack of all trades guy who plays like piano, drums, kind of whatever. And they've lost the girl with the cello, from what I understand, but kind of replaced her with people to play the other instruments at this point, but still same kind of music.
Right on.
How often do you hear of a rock band with a cello?
Not often enough, although like my musical tastes are eclectic enough that I have seen it before. Like, have you ever heard of a band called Apocalyptica?
No, I don't think so.
Apocalyptica is literally 4 cellists. That's it.
Oh,
And
that's
their first album was all Metallica covers, and
cellos, of
on
course.
4 cellists, it's actually pretty badass. I'm telling you.
Hmm. Yeah, what is it? Distortion is overrated, I would say.
I mean, this can turn into a whole like music conversation. Like I love distortion. I love crunchy guitars. I love vocal fry, but I love it. like a pure, clean vocal as well. Like I, I'm the guy that goes from listening to Michael Jackson to Eminem to like Nightwish, then back to Elvis, and I'm in every genre, and like you can tell it's my playlist because it's never the same genre of song, 2 songs in a row. Usually not even the same decade, you know.
I do have a similarly eclectic taste in music, but usually only like individual songs. There's
Mm,
not like there's not a like I'll like my favorite I would say like rappers are probably like what is it Childish Gambino and Kid Cudi. But I'm not like a particularly big rap fan, but I like them a lot.
right.
That's usually my relationship to other genres. Whereas with the folky, bluesy kind of rock thing, I tend to just find more and more bands I like from it. Whereas with the other ones, it's sort of like I just sort of bounce off them. I'm like, I found the ones I already like.
I mean, that tracks for me. I'm sort of a hard rock, heavy metal guy,
Hmm.
so like 9 times out of 10, I like it. But with other genres, I feel you on that. You know, I like this song by Katy Perry. I like this song by that artist, or I like Eminem and I like what he's doing. But actually, there's several rappers that I really like a lot. I
Hmm.
find that I've become a lot more enamored with that genre the past 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, it's a good one. Funny story about Katy Perry. I used to play the game League of Legends a lot on PC,
Okay.
and I I had a playlist for when I was trying to be serious and win, when I wasn't just messing around. And it, for some reason, included just all Katy Perry and Taylor Swift. And I would just play it over and over again while I was playing. And there was something about just how similar they all sound and how the beats are so repetitive. And they're like upbeat and poppy. And it was like, I don't know, it seemed to help. There was a distinct change in my play when I listened to that playlist versus other things. I don't know.
I mean, I'm going to avoid laughing at you right here on the stream, but no, I won't laugh at you. I promise. You know, music music is a highly personal thing. Good art, which I would argue good music is good art,
Hmm.
is meant to make you feel something, and not everybody wants to feel the same thing.
Not everyone wants to listen to Tom Waits and get depressed for a half hour.
Right, right, exactly. But sometimes 10 minutes of that is exactly what you need.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so this has been really great. We've been going a little more than an hour and a half, so I'm actually going to turn it over to the chat for a little bit.
Oh no.
There's a lot of great people that stopped by today, and chat, we've got him on a string here. He can't get away. Well, I suppose he could just drop it. He's a nice man and won't do that to me. So now is a chance to ask all of your deep, dark questions of Matt. And I'll give you guys a few minutes to send that in. And Matt, I'm going to ask you. I've asked every guest who's come on this question,
Okay.
so it's your turn. We're going to make a movie
Okay.
about your life.
Oh.
Who plays Matt?
Um. Oh. I know this one. Damn it. There's always somebody that people say looks like me. Um. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to go off a tweet reply I got today. I posted. I got these new glasses that I put out there on Twitter, and apparently people thought looked very handsome. I put out some other ones. I got some sunglasses at the same time. And Gray Area, the Great Gray Area,
Yes.
she replied with a GIF of Tom Hardy walking. So I'll say Tom Hardy.
Okay. Hey, man, you've got a really good actor there.
Saves me the trouble. Just like, oh yeah, or actually, Maddie K. Ray.
Yes, Maddie. Right.
She compared my picture with these glasses to Richard Madden. So Richard Madden or Tom Hardy, those either sound good.
Uh, Either one are good choice. I think those are both excellent actors.
Hmm.
Tom Hardy's a little bit more well known, but in this fandom, at least, everybody knows who Richard Madden is as well.
Hmm. There we go.
Maester Zen says Philip Seymour Hoffman. don't think we can get Philip Seymour
No, that's a
Hoffman
tough one. I'd
back
have,
from the dead to play
I'd
Matt.
have to really lean into the Blue Eyes of Death thing to make that happen.
Right. But given he were still alive, that would be, I think, would be a great choice as well. So now who is going to put their unique directorial stamp, their unique vision on your movie?
Oh, God, what's his name? Uh, 1 second. Ignore the typing.
Okay, everybody.
David Lynch.
Okay. Um, is he the one that did? Hold on, I'm gonna.
Did Twin Peaks.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
I love Twin Peaks.
I Twin Peaks was a little bit weird for me, to be honest.
That's the point. It's very weird. It's
it is very weird, and I'm not trying to say he's not a gifted filmmaker, because he is, but like that particular story was a bit much for me. Now I did love like Mulholland Drive. It was, you know, that was probably where I first became aware of him, and I really did enjoy that movie.
I don't think I've ever seen that one.
Ooh, Naomi Watts, who is going to be in the new Blood Moon series.
Oh,
She is one of the stars of Mulholland Drive. But yeah, you could do a lot worse. And what do we want to name our movie about Matt?
Oh, that's a tough one. A movie about my life.
Yeah,
directed by
directed
David Lynch.
David Lynch, starring Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy.
We're just going to call it Matt the Gathering, man.
Sure, go for it. That works.
I mean, I hate to put, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth or anything, but that is my favorite nickname for you, and you have a million of them at this point.
Yeah, it's what happens when you just accept nicknames.
Right. Because let's see. I'm trying to see if I can remember all of them that I've heard.
Go for it.
Matt the Gathering.
Yeah.
Joey McWizards.
I made that one up.
That's great, by the way.
I was making fun of people. It was about the Blood Raven thing, where I was commenting on how it was like, oh well, he's the Three-Eyed Raven. That's what Brian called him. So well, it must be different characters because nobody knew what he was talking about. I was like, no, it's because Bran made it up. So as an example, I was like, if I started calling myself Joey McWizards and nobody else knew it, eventually people by context would understand that I was talking about myself.
Right.
Anyway.
I think it's my favorite.
It's a good one.
So, you hit the nail on the head yourself. Sari did have a question. What is your favorite animated television show?
Ooh, my favorite animated television show. I would say Cowboy Bebop, probably.
Good choice.
Also, I'm actually kind of I'm a little bit of a weeb myself. I love anime, especially when I was a teenager in my early 20s. I watched a lot of it. But there's also like random animations I really like Avatar: The Last Airbender is amazing, along with The Legend of Korra. I always talk
more, by the way.
Games. Animated.
Avatar's real game changer for me.
That's a great one. So I tend not to like the comedies, so I don't particularly like The Simpsons or South Park or Family Guy or anything like that. It's more the adventure sci-fi sort of things. Oh, Venture Brothers was really good too.
So, and I'm about to bring it. We're talking anime now. These aren't TV shows, but like, I saw the movie Akira, followed very shortly by Ghost in the Shell.
Oh, Ghost in the Shell is great. That's like my
probably probably when Ghost in the Shell was first coming out, I saw Akira, Ghost in the Shell not long after that, and if you haven't seen both of those, and I assume you have,
I've seen both of them.
Yeah. To everyone in the chat, go watch Akira. Go watch Ghost in the Shell. Not the live action remake that they made with Scarlett Johansson. It was fine for what it was, but the original is clearly way better.
Also, the TV series; those are also great.
Yes, the standalone complex.
and the second gig. I think the latest one wasn't as good, from what I understand. I didn't get through it. It's more a prequel kind of thing.
I didn't watch it,
Yeah,
or I
see,
mean, I did watch it, but it's been, when it first came out, which was probably 10 years ago or whatever.
something like that. So
Don't really
quote
remember.
unquote new.
But the original movie for Ghost in the Shell, I love transhumanist stories.
Yes,
Love it. Like, I want to be a brain in a robot body. I want to be connected to other people through the internet in my brain, you know, that type of
it's
thing.
it's not that
And
far off from Night Flyers.
it's really, is it not?
It's basically the same. Now that I think about it, same kind of story.
I have not read Night Flyers, full disclosure. I've read other stuff that George has written, a lot of his Thousand World stuff, but I've not read Night Flyers.
Night Flyers is a good one. It's like 30, 40 pages. It's Ghost in the Shell, basically, from a Martin perspective.
I think that would actually be really good.
Yeah, it's okay. It's great. It's fine. It's not the best.
Uh,
Oh god, Good Queen Madison. I forgot about that one.
Hold on. For whatever reason, my chat timed out, and then I reloaded it, and there's a whole lot of comments I'm playing catch up on. What is a guilty pleasure of yours? Bernie wants to know, what is a guilty pleasure of yours?
Let's see here. Well, a particular guilty pleasure of mine is actually, I would say World of Warcraft, where I play it on and off every once in a while, and then when I do, I just like go into it for like months at a time and just completely max out everything I want to do, and then I stop. But it's one of those things that I don't like. I could stream myself playing it because a lot of people watch WoW players, but like I don't really want to because I don't feel good about playing it. It's one
That's
of
right.
those.
Guilty pleasure.
It's a guilty pleasure. I usually play it when I don't know if this is going to make sense to a lot of people, but if you have like a day or two or a few days where it feels like nothing really, you didn't really accomplish anything, you're just kind of treading water. WoW is a game where you can go in and just go and accomplish something really fast, and you get that like endorphin boost where it's like, oh yeah, I did something. It doesn't actually mean anything. It's just like, fun for that. And for probably a kind of like a different kind of guilty pleasure, I would say like ginger ale, where you shouldn't drink a lot of soda, you shouldn't drink a lot of sugar and stuff like that, but I just love the taste of it so much. And if I get like if I get like a sleeve of it, I'll drink it all in like 2 days. I don't feel good about it, but I just
Right.
love it.
I mean, when you say you shouldn't, I'm not sure what you mean by that. You know,
Bad for the health, I would say.
okay, but good for like the soul.
Yeah.
If it makes me happy, I end up doing it anyway. Uh, Nessie says, do you prefer flip flops or slides?
Um. Wait, aren't those the same thing? Wait, do you mean the things that go between your toes?
Yeah, those are flip flops.
I guess slides then. I don't like the feeling of anything between my toes.
Well, there you have it, Nessie. Your burning question has been answered. Bernie threw out several good questions. Who do you feel resembles you the most in A Song of Ice and Fire?
Well, that's tough to say because like which part of myself am I talking about? But I would say the one that probably resembles me the most is like just in like personality is probably like Samuel Tarly. I think it's a pretty common answer for nerdy people that are engaging with the Song of Ice and Fire. Like a lot of people love like characters like Euron, or they love like Robb Stark or Stannis, but like Stannis would never read a Song of Ice and Fire. Neither would Robb Stark. So in terms of who's actually like you and not aspirationally, there's very few choices.
You can still identify with people. You can
Yeah.
identify with John because of his bastardy and his
Mm-hmm.
the way he's torn. But it tracks. Samuel tracks for me
Yeah.
quite a bit. I probably would answer the same. Um, Sanrixian already knows the answer to this, but we're going to ask it. Who is your favorite Game of Thrones actress?
Oh, you already know the answer to this?
No. Sandry says, even though I know your answer.
Oh yeah, she does. It's Esme Bianco. She
Okay.
played Ross.
Roz, right? It's true what they say about the Northern girls, you know.
She is a Northern girl. People forget that she's from Winterfell.
Right?
Makes you wonder about that John's thing for redheads. And she was sitting right there outside the castle.
Right? Yeah, you could do a lot worse. She's a very pretty lady, and I thought she brought that character to life really well. You know, for not having any source material to go from, thought it was a really well constructed character. Although like, we can argue about
Her ending wasn't great. You know,
right.
that's Nessie and Bernie are complaining I didn't say Maester Aemon. Maester Aemon is a much more driven person than I am. Like his young life story is as like a wonder kid kind of person, a genius that was like changing the world around him. Sam's much closer to what my life has actually been like. Although personality wise, I may be like Eamon in some ways. Like I don't know. That's more an aspirational character, I would say.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to pick characters that define you or describe you as you are here and now.
Yeah.
Because most of us, when we look at a literary character, we are identifying those qualities we want that we're aspiring to. Like you say, they're aspirational characters, and there are several good ones in the Song of Ice and Fire. But I think that Samwell Tarly, despite being, you know, he's a character you say you can identify with as you are now, but I think he's a great aspirational character too. Sam has a ton of fantastic qualities.
It's true. He got much like John. He got a lot better as the books went on in terms of readability, I would say, and likability. He's not very likable in the beginning.
Sam is not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's just because like Sam's early chapters are like, "This is me in the 6th grade."
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's getting bullied a lot, so and he like shirks away from a lot of things and like retreats from everything. It gets kind of frustrating, and you see it from John's perspective because John's thinking that too. Like, Sam, why don't you like stand up for yourself? And it's like, yeah. He gets a lot better when Sam learns to stand up for himself.
I don't disagree with that, but maybe for me it's just I didn't stand up for myself in the 6th grade. If you could take my meaning, you know. Yeah. Okay. Maester Zin wants to know Alliance or Horde.
I played Horde for a long time. This is not going to be well. This is surprising. I played a Blood Elf for a long time because I didn't like the Alliance, and then I always and most of my friends played Horde, which is the most of the reason people play a particular faction. You want to play with your friends, so you chose that one. But in the during the Legion expansion, or no, Warlords of Draenor expansion, I used the paid character transfer and took all my stuff back to Alliance.
So essentially, you became a traitor to your people.
Kind of.
All right. Well, I'm glad we got to the bottom of that.
And I don't know.
Ooh, that's another good question from Maester Zen. What character does everyone love who you hate?
Oh, Stannis. A lot of people like Stannis. For a lot of people, he's their favorite character, and I find him intolerable to read. And if I saw him in real life, he would just be like the worst.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm with you. I've never been a Thanos.
That's not to say he's not a good character.
He's an
and he has a very
character.
good story, and he works well within A Song of Ice and Fire. I don't like him though.
No, I don't like him. Like the one true king of blah blah. I'm like, come on, dude. He would be insufferable as a king.
Why do you want to be a king, Stannis? Oh, because my hawk. Okay, whatever. Proudwing. Keep saying Proudwing. Sure, whatever.
Well, we're getting close to the end here, folks. So this is your last chance to get some questions in. I don't like to keep my guests past 2 hours. We all have lives, and we're fast approaching that 2 hour mark. So my personal last question for you is: other than your own panels, what are you most looking forward to in this coming weekend?
Oh, you're assuming I'm looking forward to my panels, and I'm not
Well,
racked with stress
I
thinking
mean,
about them.
you're looking forward to at least one of them because it's with me.
True, that's very true, Steve. That one, of course.
Actually,
Um, I'm
that's
looking forward to um, not any particular event. It's just the I think my favorite parts of Con of Thrones last year were just hanging out with all these random people from across the internet that are no longer just words typed in a screen at you or somebody
right.
you talk to on a live stream every once in a while or you listen to their podcasts.
Or like you
Like,
see that Twitter icon that's the size of a dime. Yeah.
yeah, like the Fire and Blood event that I went to in New Jersey was so much fun. It was very similar to Con of Thrones in that way, where it was just like all your favorite people. They were all in one place. Nobody's nobody's jeffing with their Twitter. Nobody's like making points or anything. It's just like hanging out and having fun and seeing each other and partying and that kind of stuff. And that was my favorite part of Con of Thrones last year. As great as the panels were, which are actually a lot of fun once you actually get up on stage and you do them.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, that was my favorite part. And also just meeting random people. Like last year, I think I've told this story a bunch. Somebody asked for my signature, and that was like one of the most surreal moments of my entire life. I was like, really? Me? And stuff like that
Yeah.
happens all the time. It's like a different world. It's a nice world though.
It is. I look forward to it all year. Like a week from now, exactly 1 week from now, I will be at a barbecue, you know, doing the post con barbecue thing. The
Hmm.
next day I'm gonna be thinking about next year's con.
Yeah.
So a week from tomorrow I will be planning the one that comes in a year. Because it is the social event of the year for our fandom.
Yes. Very much so. And that's something that this is something that's hard to explain, but I've tried it several times, so I'll give it a shot here. My day to day life is very, very different from the fandom life, where I have a boring job. I go in and like there's not a lot of like glory in it. Nobody's coming up to me and saying, "Oh my God, you did a great job," even if I did. But you go to Con of Thrones or you like go to these live streams or like make videos, and there's so many people that have such an outpouring of admiration and just telling you how much what you made or what you said meant to them. And it's like two different lives basically. And Con of Thrones is like that one part of my life is real for a week.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's pretty magical. Well, I did get one more really deep question uh, from who was it? From Maester Zen again. For the deepest of questions, pancakes or waffles?
Waffles.
You are correct.
Waffles
Just
are where it's at because not you can cut them into little squares and keep the
mhm.
syrup on them, and you can the crunchiness works a lot better with them too than versus pancakes. You make a crunchy pancake, you messed up. That thing's uneatable. You
Yeah,
make a crunchy waffle with a soft
perfect.
inside. It's great.
Yeah, I
Also,
like
you can tell I cook.
right. I could agree with you. Waffles is the correct answer here because each of those little individual squares will hold retain butter on its own,
mm,
and butter retention is key.
yes, I have a Belgian waffle maker just for this
Oof.
purpose. I mean, cleaning it's a pain in the ass. That's usually the argument against waffles. A waffle iron is takes up space. It's hard to clean. Fine, it's worth it.
Yeah, I don't have a waffle iron, but I have like the flat grilled George Foreman thing. I also have an air fryer, which
Mm,
takes up counter space. So got to draw the line somewhere.
it's true.
You have an air fryer?
I do not.
Man, it'll change your life.
I don't know. I don't know if I need more fried food.
I mean that's the thing though. It's an air fryer. It doesn't use fat at all.
Oh,
I'll tell you about it some other time. But
okay.
like, it is literally device known to humankind that you could take yesterday's French fries, put them in there, cook them for 2 minutes, and they come out tasting like fresh French fries.
Maybe I have to look into this.
Yeah, it's totally it'll make a believer out of you. Also, the best way to reheat pizza.
Oh, well, if it makes that better, then maybe there's
Oh yeah,
room for it in my life.
yeah. I'm telling you, waffles are great, or not waffles.
Waffles are great.
Waffles are great too, but air fryer is great. Okay, well, y'all, that's like 2 hours. Matt, this was a hell of a lot of fun. You're a great conversation, man. And I'd be happy to have you back anytime you like. But I think we're going to move towards wrapping up here.
Okay.
So,
It's a lot of fun.
Sandry, I will tell you about the air fryer, all about it when I talk to you soon.
In my mod chat.
So what do you got in the pipeline next? What's coming up next on your channel? Do you have anything you're working on?
Yes, I am working on a video right now talking about Bran as king, and sort of going away from the show criticism part. I don't mean criticism in a negative way, just like reaction to it, just sort of taking it as a plot point, and then what it means, and all that other kind of fun stuff. So that's next. Then I'm going to be doing a video. I thought I was going to have time. I'm not going to before Con of Thrones, where it's going to be essentially why it's important that Jon knew nothing. Like, it's more of a lot of people in the wake at the end of the show have been asking why RLJ? Why is it important? And this is going to be sort of my take on it.
Okay.
And then I think after that, the video I've planned for third is the Jenny song lyrics that they introduced, specifically the longer version that they put into the show that they had Florence from Florence and the Machine sing. I'm going to compare that to Danny's story in a similar way, to do like a wrap up on their thing, on her story, in a similar way I was going to Jon. Like a much more sympathetic look and less like that queenish. I already made that video. And then I plan far in the future. I'm going to do some more live streams, probably. I'm probably going to do some patron exclusive stuff. Maybe have like, I'm thinking about having people back on who I talked to during the season, like a retrospective thing.
Right on.
And then moving back towards the book stuff, and then sort of picking my next project as I go. Right now it's looking like Lord of the Rings or maybe The Expanse. Those are particularly popular. I think we're too far away from Kingkiller Chronicles, although that's my favorite series that's being made right now.
Right on.
So something like that.
I just came onto The Expanse, and man, I've seen what's been made so far, and it's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen it yet, but the people, there's always certain people in your life whose tastes line up with yours. That's why I always hate like Metacritic and like Rotten Tomatoes, where that doesn't actually tell you anything. It's more important if someone who has similar taste to you likes something. And the people in my life who are markers like that really love The Expanse. So
yeah, it was Aziz and Ashea that turned me onto it.
Oh yeah,
and
they're big.
I get what you're saying about like, oh, I know I'm going to like it because these people told me I would like it.
And that's like a psychological thing, and that's important for finding criticism in the community, not even our community, just in general, like finding somebody else that's similar rather than there's no objective answer.
Yeah, people are noticing my dog. I know we're trying to do an outro, but this is Willow. Say hi, Willow.
Oh,
this is my neurotic
Chihuahua.
Well, she's a Chihuahua wire hair terrier mix.
I was gonna say that hair looked like a wire hair.
I mean, she's kind of actually.
She's a little too big to be a Chihuahua, yeah.
Big for a Chihuahua, yeah.
Oh, does she have the tail? Does she have the wire terrier tail?
No, she's got the curly tail like a Chihuahua. Most of her wire hair is on her back, but she's a beautiful, beautiful, happy, cuddly, snuggly dog who is afraid of everything. So she's a neurotic mess.
Classic Chihuahua.
Yep. Well, and then my other dog is also Chihuahua, but he's just like the most chill, likes everybody, doesn't have a problem barking. Anyway.
No accounting for upbringing, I guess.
Yeah. Well, she came from a shelter, and I think she was not well cared for in her last family. So
yeah. That'll happen.
But she's got a good home here, don't you, sweetie? Yeah, she's laying in my lap now. Well, okay, Matt, anything else you want to bring up? Anything else you want to tell the people before we shut this thing down?
Well, other than Con of Thrones is coming up in just a few days, I'll be arriving on Thursday and leaving Monday, I think. I have to double check my flight, but I think that's what's happening. I'll be on 7 panels, including 2 live podcasts, one for Maester Monthly, one for Knights Cast. I put up a thing on Twitter that's pinned right now if you want to see which ones I'm on. I would definitely recommend you make sure you see the last panel I'm on with Kim Renfro, Sam Adolfo, and Bookshelf Stud, where we're going to be talking about bad fan theories. That one's going to be a blast.
I have it marked on my calendar. I can't remember. Is that like the very last?
It's like the last
slot?
one. It's like
very
the
last panel slot. Yeah, I think
So
I
we're-
have it marked on my calendar.
We're going to get ridiculous. It's going to be silly. It's going to be a lot of fun. All of them are going to be great, but that one I'm looking forward to the most. Probably because the other ones I have to sort of perform. I have to do the Matt Brain Encyclopedia thing. That one we're just going to have a lot of fun.
Right on. Well, I look forward to it. I will also be there Thursday through Monday, although I'm leaving pretty early Monday morning. But I look forward to seeing you there. I'm sure I will bump into you about a dozen times. And to anybody in the chat who's there, come say hi to us.
Mm-hmm.
If you make it. Several of the people in the chat are doing panels.
Yes.
Also, I know Nessie and Sanri are both doing panels. And I look forward to seeing you all there. And that being said, unless anybody else has anything else, which it doesn't look like, we're gonna end it there, guys. So once again, thanks for coming by, and I will see you all in about 2 weeks, where we will do a Con of Thrones retrospective. So I look forward to seeing you all then. Peace.